we have to look at the framework of what we have, what we're holding when we're talking about business. Dahil sa unang-una, if we look at the recent history, it's not just in the past that the U.S., I'm not against the U.S., we are not against the U.S., but we have to look at how even our friends operate, how they behave instead of what they say. No? So the first opportunity the U.S. had to take over the Philippines, they befriended the Filipino revolutionary forces and then bought the Philippines. No? And the people will say, some of my friends, they will say, ito ay datihan na, it's before. But you know, the Philippine-American War, it's estimated between 300,000 to 1 million Filipino died in a time when Filipino population was only 5 to 6 million. So that's more than 10% was killed during this period. And even at that time, it was already determined that it was threatened at that time that Aguinaldo was threatened that if you don't surrender, if we have to kill a lot of the people, we will. No? And so they say it's before, but when we look at it now, even if we have dispute with China, we have 1,500 years of trading relationship with China. There were pirates and there were things like that, but there was never actual dispute between the countries. In fact, it was a very friendly relations, and it was always trading, and it was beneficial for both parties. Now, if we look at it recently, we can remember, maybe, I don't remember, 6 or 7 years ago, the U.S. tried to recognize Muslim Mindanao as a separate state. Kirsty Kenny was there in Malaysia, ready to sign it already. They were going to betray the Philippines, officially. No? And we have forgotten that. No? If we look more recently at private incidents, the Tubataha Reefs, no? They were captured 8 Chinese fishermen. Despite the dispute, they were imprisoned for many months, I think over a year. And the Chinese government, of course, as a matter of course, the embassy came and tried to intercede, but they submitted to Philippine law. At the same time, just a couple of weeks before, the U.S. Navy ship, which was warned not to go to Tubataha, knew they should not go to Tubataha, got grounded there despite instructions and warnings not to go there. But the interesting thing there was that not only were they grounded there, when the Philippine Navy tried to, or Coast Guard tried to come up and inspect what happened, they pointed guns at the Filipinos. They pointed guns at the Filipinos. And if we look at it also during the trial of the transgender as well as the rape victim, we cannot even have custody. How is our Department of Foreign Affairs telling us they are defending our interests? They say that because he is still in Philippine territory, therefore the soldier is in Philippine custody. When you cannot interrogate him, you cannot have custody, you cannot sit with him alone. It was always under guard from the Americans. So ano ang pinag-uusapan nating sovereignty? No? So despite the dispute, we can go on and on. In fact, this Mama Sapano incident, who believes that the Americans are not involved? But we're not talking about to be against Americans. Now, if we look at it from an international and policy perspective, America has stated officially that their policy is to be the unilateral, single, sole superpower in the world. The other countries believe that they have areas of influence, regional powers, but the U.S. wants to be the sole superpower in the world. And in furtherance of this objective, they have gone around the world. If we look at the policy of people and the results, maybe the best way to judge whether we should follow someone's policies or leadership is the outcome of their previous policies. No? So every country, if you look at the last 20 wars, siguro 18 of them were initiated by the U.S. And they went into Iraq for weapons of mass destruction. There were none. They said it was for human rights. They were, you know, maybe a couple of hundred or a few hundred people were getting killed a year. But since they went in, 1.5 million people have died. Ever since they went into Libya, nearly 500,000 have died. Mostly civilians ever since. And not only that, in each case, extremists have taken control of most of the country. So we're not saying that there's no merit in the argument, but the results have been, because we have to look at things not from an idealistic, theoretical, or legal perspective. We have to look at things holistically. Their policies have been a failure throughout the world. No? Every place they go, there have been terrorists, and actually documents have come out that they started the Abu Sayyaf group, they started the Al-Qaeda, they started the ISIS, and their allies continue to support these people. So in Syria, they are not there to protect the country, they're there to do regime change. That's their stated policy. That means they are going to change your leader the same way they changed them in Ukraine, even though these were elected. They don't leave it to you, they come in. So when you talk about the U.S., why we are asking for their help, they are not even signatories to UNCLOS. They don't subject themselves to any international law because they are not part of the International Criminal Court system. They don't follow the pollution laws because they're not signatories to Kyoto Protocol. But they are the most vehement in trying to declare that everyone should follow all these rules. Pero sila ang exception. Lahat kayo kailangan sumunod, pero kami hindi kailangan. No? So that is the way they're looking at it. But nevertheless, we're not saying that we should be enemies of the U.S. We just have to think independently. Parang may kaibigan na kung pwede kang iisahin ka, pero pwede rin maging kaibigan. Because we have a lot to learn from them. I enjoy the lifestyle there. I'm sure many of you have traveled there. You enjoy the lifestyle there. We have friends. The average American is among the nicest people and friendliest people in the world. No? Among the warmest, like the Filipinos. Maybe having experienced both sides, the Chinese, if you go to China, maybe they're very, you can do deals with them, but maybe they're not as warm. They don't, so merong konting cultural distance, no? But is that distance the way we have to make our decisions? Now, when I'm looking from a business viewpoint, whatever happens in this tribunal decision, I think the policy of Duterte, we have seen one after another come out from this president who looks like he's moved faster and worked harder than any that we have had before. I'm sure that others have worked very hard, President Ramos, President G.A., but in terms of policy, we have seen not only policy, but implementations come very fast. We should support this president, his judgment. He has shown that if the initial judgment has been something that is people question, he has adjusted them. Even with his ministers, he has adjusted the policy. So, mukhang kakaiba itong presidenteng ito. No? So, he is right that, you know, whatever the decision comes out, that is not the core, that is not the central interest. No? Right now, for instance, tayo ay naghuhuling sumama sa AIIB. We were the last to join.
Yes.
We were the first to say we would join, one of the first, and then suddenly it got stalled. Pinahinto. On the advice of the Japanese and the Americans. Why? We have another bank that is going to lend to us that 1 year after it was just established this December, now they are ready to release $45 billion. They have stated that they're going to give $400 to $700 billion in development loans throughout the world. Why are we not part of this? Because the Americans and Japanese said so. No? So meron kang isang bagong bangko na makasama. There's nothing wrong. There is no strings attached. In the World Bank, they have, U.S. has veto rights. In the AIIB, China does not have veto rights. So who is the one trying to control who? No? Apart from that, the U.S. is trying to say we have to join the Trans-Pacific Partnership. It's a partnership among the countries in the Pacific. But the largest country is not allowed to join in the policy making. They're welcome to join as a member. China is not allowed to join in the policy making. Why? So is that not very directed, a very personal thing, no? Whereas the proposals of China, it's open to everybody, no? Itong Silk Road na itong initiative, this